Made 32 starts. This one hits the bag and deflects into right field, and Davey Martinez has the first hit.
2-2 is the count. And there's a drive. Deep right field. It is gone! The hit that makes history is a two-run home run.
There he goes. The pitch is a strike. The throw not in time. Carl Crawford steals his 6th base of the afternoon.
Ground ball to second. Iwamoto's got it. Rays are going to the World Series. They've scored 2 in the bottom of the 9th against Papelbon, and the Orioles beat Boston 4-3.
With 2 outs and nobody on.
2-2 and a line shot down the left field line. That ball is gone, and the Rays win it. A line drive home run by Evan Longoria.
Story.
And a high shot deep to right. This baby's gonna go. It's a tie ball game. On a 3-2 pitch, Brandon Lau finishes the job, and the Rays have come all the way back from 8 runs down to tie it 8-8.
Well, here we are. It's time for a Tampa Bay Rays franchise rebuild. I have been a fan of the rebuild content for quite a while, and I just got into franchise in MLB 25, and I've done a few as practice, but this is the main event. The Rays are my favorite team, and the goal of this rebuild, of course, is to build a dynasty. I think I'll be planning to do about 10 years. And along the way, the goal, of course, is to win at least one World Series, hopefully a handful, although it's harder to do. Even, I've had franchise teams where they, in the regular season, have won 115 games without even fleecing the CPU for elite players, just doing it, quote-unquote, the right way, and then lose it in the first round of the playoffs. So it can be a little bit of a crapshoot. But anyway, the goal, of course, is going to be to win multiple World Series, to win all the awards that we can along the way. Cy Youngs, MVPs, Silver Sluggers, Gold Gloves, Rookies of the Year, you name it. So I am pretty new to this, but I'm very excited to give it a shot. And let's get into taking the inventory of what this Rays team has and some of the plans that I might have for it. So, preseason, the Rays are ranked 24th in this game, which is interesting. It is fun to be a Rays fan because they do seem to be constantly overlooked. And as we know, the Rays are a top 10 team in the league this year, now that today is June 25th. So that is funny. But, video game versus reality. Anyway, if we look at the kind of overview here, you can see that there are a couple positions that they like us. Second base and our relievers and closers are the only ones with the little green highlight here. Second base, of course, is Brandon Lau, kind of the franchise player, or at least one of the franchise players for the Rays. Shortstop is Ha-Sung Kim, the Rays acquisition, who is still hurt in real life, but in this game we will be playing as if he was not. And then at first base you have Yandy Diaz. You also have in real life Jonathan Aranda, who's turned out to be an elite first baseman, both mostly offensively. And then pretty much every other position is really, really bad, which is interesting. Let's take a look at the roster and take a look at some of the potential prospects that are already here for us. So starting with the roster, Brandon Lau is the highest rated player. He's a power hitting second baseman. He has been an all-star before. He actually has quite a few quirks. And he is, this is a steal for how good he really is, but he is going to become a free agent. And he's 30 right now. So he could ultimately be a trade piece, or he, who knows? He could get an extension. We'll have to see. McClanahan is going to be our ace. He's going to continue to improve. He's had a great first 3 years, although in real life he has struggled with some injuries. Multiple-time All-Star. He's still got an arbitration window. We could be looking at an extension for Shane as an ace. We'll have to see. Ha-Seong Kim, elite defensive and a pretty good hitter. He's also got a potential. He's won a Gold Glove. And then Yandy Diaz, who has won a Silver Slugger and a batting title, as well as being an All-Star. He's got some quirks. He is also a potential trade piece. He's a little older. I don't know how much better he might get, but he is an on-base monster. And there's a lot of stats that he has that are really good for the sim in this game, especially contact and vision. Does not play good defense. He mostly DHs in real life. So we'll have to see what we do with that. So those are some of our hitters. The pitchers, we talked about Shane McClanahan. There are some pretty interesting pitchers here. So these top five here is the Rays, rotation before they headed into the year. Ultimately, McClanahan has been injured, so Rasmussen, who always seems to sim very, very well in this game, became a starter. He will be a reliever in this rebuild. There are the main lefty is Garrett Clevenger. Low walks per 9, which is kind of bad for this game, but he's a good lefty reliever. Back to the starters, though. Pepio, Bradley, and Boz, the big three. These are the younger. Pepio has already kind of started to establish himself as a potential ace, coming over from the Dodgers as part of the Glasnow trade. I believe it was the Glasnow trade. Bradley has been inconsistent in his career, but he's young and has some room for growth. He's still a renewable contract. And then Boz, similar to Bradley, young player, has really shown some signs of being very good. He's got 3 more years of arbitration, and we'll have to see. So it's going to be interesting to see between these 3 guys who could get a possible extension, who could end up being here for the long haul. And then we do have one, as we transition to talk about prospects, we do have one close to MLB ready prospect. He's already in the MLB in this game, in Joe Boyle. We also have Dylan Lesko. And those are kind of the main pitching prospects. So it's not a super deep lineup there. Seymour's played a little bit in real life, but I don't expect him to be super good in this game. Talked a little bit about some of the relievers. There are some good relievers in here. Uceda, he's going to be a key piece. Kevin Kelly should be pretty good. Rasmussen, I think, is going to be elite. He's going to continue to get a little better. And we'll have to see what we ultimately do with him. Those are the main reliever pieces. There's not much in the pipeline here, reliever-wise. And then closer, Pete Fairbanks. He's got 2 more years left on his deal. We'll see how things go with him. There's quite a few things that are up in the air for this team. Let's see. Taking a look at our AAA, there are a couple guys in here. I guess both AA and AAA. There are a couple guys in here that are interesting. Eloy Jimenez has high potential. He's older, but he can slug a little bit. He can hit pretty well. So we'll have to see what comes from Eloy. Xavier Isaac at first base. Braden Taylor at third base. These are some of the top prospects for the Rays. There's some interesting outfield prospects. Chandler Simpson, we've seen him this year. He has super low potential in this game. He may not end up factoring in quite as much. And then Curtis Mead, you can see his contact versus lefties. We'll have to see with Curtis Mead. He may develop into a interesting player for us. And then in AA, I would say the Rays' best prospect is Carson Williams, who is an elite defensive shortstop. And we'll have to see how he develops because the hitting tool is not there. I would say that his stats don't really reflect too well in real life. He's more of a power hitter with poor vision and discipline, at least to start his minor league journey. So we'll have to see with Carson Williams. Trey Morgan's an interesting guy. He's a elite defensive first baseman, can play a little bit of outfield, kind of an interesting profile. And then Tristan Peters. He could be, again, deep potential. He might surprise us. So that's just taking a bit of an inventory of what this team has to offer heading into this year. So last piece of the intro is talking a little bit more as a whole about the Rays as a team, as a franchise, as a business. The Rays have consistently been one of the lower payroll teams in the league, despite a lot of success. They have the third best record since 2008. I believe it's behind the Yankees and the Dodgers, despite having a very low payroll this year, $89 million. And you can see there's literally not a single dollar planned beyond 2026. And I will do my best to stay fairly Rays-like in the beginning. However, things are coming to a head in real life, and it looks like the Rays ultimately may be selling to a new owner. And with that in mind, and to make this a little bit more fun, as time goes on and as we start to perform and develop some prospects from the draft and make some good acquisitions in free agency or through trades, we're going to look to grow to more of a middle-of-the-pack payroll team. So somewhere between $150, $160 million payroll would be my idea going into this. We've got a lot of work to do to build up the farm system to make this team be able to be fairly efficient money-wise going forward. We're not going to be able to give out too many big contracts. Of course, we'll be looking to build around some cornerstone guys, some that may already be on this team and some that we'll be drafting or trading for as we get deeper into this rebuild. I think things are going to go pretty quick in the beginning. We'll look and watch a couple of games, but ultimately, I'm going to move probably pretty quickly through the first couple of years and just go over notable highlights. And then as this team starts to really compete, probably 2027, 2028, 2029, we'll spend a little more time looking at games, seeing how our new prospects are performing, talking a little bit more about our strategy. And that's really all I've got going into this. So let's go ahead and dive in and start to simulate the first year and begin scouting and taking a look at how our team is performing.
As we head into opening day, I had recorded live audio that ended up being terrible because the game audio was way too loud. So speaking to you in post-production here, I will improve the quality of these videos, both audio and the visual aspect of it. There's some choppy moments in the video. I'm new to this, and if I get a little bit of traction with these videos, I will invest a little bit more in the quality as we go, as McClanahan has a clean 1-2-3 inning. The main thing I wanted to cover here on opening day is that I will not be playing any of the games. What you are watching is the CPU doing its thing. I want to act only as a GM, kind of sitting up above, the field and making the decisions of the lineup and the roster and the scouting and the contracts. And we're going to let the CPU just simulate. And it's up to me to set us up for success in that element. Marquez does end up getting through a clean inning here, as well as Yandy Diaz grounds out. We talked plenty about the players. My original clip had a lot more conversation about the players, but I've already gone over that. Just wanted to mention that there will be no human input from me throughout this rebuild in terms of swinging the bat and throwing the pitches. Even right here, as I'm going to the quick menu, I'm just clicking next at bat. I'm fast forwarding. I'm not deciding whether to bunt or pinch run or pinch hit. we'll leave it up to the CPU to do that. So I need to make sure, for example, that I have somebody on the bench that can steal a base if we're in a tight game, or can replace a runner on second in extra innings and things like that, so that the CPU can make decent decisions. So the CPU is almost acting as the manager, and I'm setting up the team as a GM, which is exactly how I think it should be. So as we're fast forwarding through opening day, it's a pretty slow start. The Rockies are up 2-0, and the Rays only have one hit so far. The Rockies ace, it was kind of dominant early here, and the Rockies did extend their lead to 3-0, but we start to get something cooking here in the sixth, or the bottom of the fifth, but it ends up turning into nothing. So 3-0 Rockies. We're heading to the bottom of the sixth. Marquez is still in and still has only given up one hit. The offense is going to need a lot of work for us in this game. There's some good pieces of the pitching staff that we went over, who could even be long-term pieces, as now we're getting something going. 2 runners on, no outs. And now the bases are loaded, and Johnny DeLuca's up. They're going to go to the bullpen with Tyler Kinley, and DeLuca with a bases-clearing double to tie the game, and then Josh Lowe singles him home. The Rays take a 4-3 lead. So we're seeing a little bit of offense there, but we're going to need a lot more if we're going to be a competitive team, and it might take a while based on some of the strategy I went over at the beginning of this video, that we want to stay fairly cheap in the beginning, and that even though the Rays are successful in real life with the roster that is loaded in this game, it doesn't sim well. So we need to take a slightly different approach, and I just don't think there was any way to really make the current team competitive in MLB the Show, as we do end up closing out opening day. Edwin Uceta gets us the save. So that's it for opening day. Let's go ahead and get into scouting and really start getting into the first season.
Oh, would you look at this? I was curious why McClanahan was pulled out of the game so early. You can see that he sustained an injury, inflamed nerve. And this is what happened to him in real life. I am going to let the CPU handle injuries. I'm going to change the setting to be auto. But immediately, our ace goes down. As we get through the first part of the season, the Rays started off 5-3. And it's time to look towards our scouts and the first draft. And unfortunately, I poured through the list and I could not find a great position player scout. This top guy here, Mark Madlock, was really the best I could find with 86 efficiency and 90 position player. I would love a lot higher efficiency and a little bit higher on the position players, but this is the best I could find. I did find a great pitcher scout and a good discovery scout, and that's who I'm going to rock with. Our strategy, this is going to be me borrowing from advice from other franchise channels like Scrawny Slugger, Fiend Franchise, I believe is the name. They have some good videos on draft strategy that I learned from. So for our discovery scout, let's start here. We're going to start by discovering international pitchers. This seems to be the best region to find some really good pitcher prospects that can stay on the board a little longer. And to synergize with that, our pitcher scout is going to scout international starting pitcher. I don't think pitcher is quite as big of a need for the Rays as it is, at least in the immediate future, as it is position players and really offense as a whole. However, we do want to stock up the farm system with some good pitchers, better than more A potential or high B potential pitchers that can really be, we want to have a strong front of our rotation when we start to compete in the playoffs. And then for our position player scout, we're going to be looking at some of the position players that are kind of around our draft number. You can see we're number 14. So we'll start around there, maybe starting around 9, 10, see if any of these guys really rise up the board. And then we will get into, once we find who a couple options that we might want to take. Then we'll look to some guys later on in the draft class for picks 36, 49, and then we'll be mostly looking at discovery guys in those later rounds. Quickly checking in, the Rays did get off to a 5-3 start, but since then we got swept by two division rivals, the Red Sox and the Yankees. Well, it looks like this is actually a 4-game set with the Yankees, so we'll have to see where that ends up. But we did take a little bit of a turn here. As far as scouting, the first guy I really scouted was first baseman Tommy Leverett out of Florida. Switch hitter, looks to have a really promising bat. Defense isn't that critical at first base, I would say. So we'll have to see where his defense ends up. But looks like a very promising prospect for us. And we have also been working on scouting pitchers and discovering pitchers, seeing who goes up and down the board. Yokoyama has come up the board. We have not found any great discovery guys just yet. Bautista might be okay. But that's where we stand a couple weeks into scouting. Shifting our discovery scout over to East, there was some good options. Central and East both look like decent pitcher classes. I went with East, and it looks like our scouts have found a very good discovery pitcher. This guy is actually, matter of fact, too, I missed Fredrickson. Both these guys show some promise. I do have a feeling, just gut feeling, that Pyle may end up being a little better than Fredrickson, but we're definitely going to shift our pitcher scout to scouting these East pitchers here after one more week of doing international. I didn't have quite as much success on the international side with discovery. I did find a couple of relief pitchers that looked promising, especially Pennick. I will be looking to check him out, as well as Martinez, later on when we start to scout some individual guys on the pitching side. Didn't really find anything promising for closers, but there are some good options for pitcher. You can also see Jeff Murphy really rose up the board. I don't love his per 9 splits, but could be a decent late round option for a trade. So I'm very interested in Pyle and Fredrickson. Definitely update later on how they end up shaking out. As far as the position guys, I've scouted a couple. The efficiency being down for our position player scout is kind of hurting. I really hope I can find another guy at some point. But it looks like Tommy Leverett is going to be very promising. Also does look like this third baseman, Figueroa, could be pretty solid as well. I like the way his different attributes kind of split out, even though he won't hit for much power. Moving forward with the season, we did just pull off an 8-game winning streak. The Rays are currently 3 games above 500. And taking a look at our rotation, some very good work outside of Vasil. I'm not familiar with this guy. I don't have many other great options. I guess maybe I could put Boyle in that spot. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Let's try Boyle in that spot and throw Vasil or Vasil into long relief. See how that goes. But Littell, Bradley, Pepio, and McClanahan are all pitching very well. Rasmussen is doing a lot worse than I would have expected. Through 35 innings, I do think he'll turn that around. Rodriguez is struggling. Clevenger's been good, better than I thought. Through 21 innings, Kevin Kelly's been good. Fairbanks has been okay, and Uceda has been very good. As far as the lineups, Josh Lowe, 216 with 5 homers. Nothing too special there. Ha-Sung Kim has done pretty well for us. He's getting on base almost 350 clip, slugging a little bit. He's racked up already 1.2 WAR here, just a handful, 6 or 7 weeks into the season. Great to see that. Yandy Diaz is doing about what we would expect. Brandon Lau's got 8 homers. Morel, Palacios, they're doing okay. Caminero, developing a little bit. Not doing as well as I thought. That on-base percentage is a little low there. Slugging's also a little low. He's been a negative WAR player, but let's just keep our eye on Junior. He's very young. Jansen's only been okay. And DeLuca, who's really a defense-first center fielder, has been okay. Caballero off the bench has been fine. Rortvedt's a backup catcher. Wall's kind of a defensive specialist. The pitching staff has really been carrying us so far to start the year. A quick little update on scouting. We are preparing for week 10 of 14. It's moving by quickly. And our Discovery Scout, who I have now switched to looking at position players, found, allegedly, the number 1 player in the class, right fielder Dante Nolo, or Nolat, not sure, from the Netherlands. He's 21. Definitely going to scout him and see just how good he really is. Almost feels a little too good to be true, but we'll definitely take a look. And meanwhile, updating on Pyle, who we talked about earlier, he has steadily risen up the board. This looks like an excellent Discovery pitcher, especially with his walks per 9. He's got an interesting pitch mix. We may have to work with him a little bit, get our coaches on him to maybe look at introducing a slider or a curveball, which I think is only fair. This is a pretty unrealistic pitch mix, considering there's a sinker and a two-seam, and they are basically the exact same pitch. But got some okay velo. We'll have to look into that. But outside of that, very interested in Aaron Pyle. Other pitchers have risen up the board. Burton, he looks decent, fairly well-rounded, young prospect. Casilla, he's also risen up the board, but his walks per 9 are very low. As far as some position players, right now I'm hoping Leverett from Florida, who I believe we saw, that was our week 1 guy. I'm hoping that he falls to us. I do like his bat a lot, and we will need a replacement most likely at first base for Yandy Diaz as he's getting older. I have not found too many other promising prospects. Bridges looks okay. Not thrilled. A couple more guys I want to look at. I'm just concerned that these guys might not fall to us, and I don't want to scout too many guys that I don't think are going to fall, especially if I'm not blown away by them. Huff, I might want to take a look at. Figueroa, he looks okay. He's got the, if you've watched Franchise before, he's kind of got the typical build that seems to sim very well. High contact, high vision, high discipline. Outside of that, other guys have really fallen down the board. So there are a couple more guys to look at up here, but have not had the same success with the position players just yet. So let's continue scouting, and we'll see as we get towards draft time what the board looks like. Pretty excited to see Dante Nolo. Does look to be a good prospect. Looks very well rounded. Does lack a little bit of vision and discipline, but he's going to hit for power, which is great in a corner outfield spot, and he's got good defense and speed. Most likely will come in with mid-B potential, but he'll be pretty ready to play in the near future. I'm also looking at a couple Discovery relievers over here just to see if there's anything we can get late round. Nothing too great just yet, but the big news is Nolo. Draft day. The Rays have the 14th pick in the draft, which obviously adjust the strategy a little bit. We tried to look at guys that felt like I could get around 14th. I really want to take a position player first and then look towards some of the pitchers that we found. So let's talk about some of our options. So Tommy Leverett, who was, I believe, the very first guy I scouted on the position side, and I didn't even finish scouting him with the lack of efficiency of our position player scout. A couple of guys I left a little short of 100%, but I do feel like Leverett could be very good. His bat looks exciting. I would say he is my number one choice if he were to fall. Sai Tejada from Pennsylvania, catcher. I feel like the Rays have always struggled to find really a franchise catcher, and that is something that I want in this rebuild. At some point, it may not be this year, but you can see he's got what looks to be very good defense. You can't really see all the catcher defensive metrics in the scouting process, but I do think he's going to be somewhere in B potential and be able to rise up pretty quickly. He's got power. He kind of lacks discipline and vision, but a power hitting defensive catcher could be very interesting. Steven Figueroa, he did fall down my board a little bit. I'm not super thrilled necessarily if I got to go with Figueroa. However, he does show some promise in the way of contact, vision, discipline, going to be a good at-bat. He does look like he's going to have good defense and speed, batting from the left side. So we'll see on Figueroa. And then, of course, Nolo, one of the gems we found. He's got guaranteed B and potentially low A potential. He's going to come in probably in the mid-70s overall. There's a good chance that I end up going with Nolo just because I really feel like I'm going to be able to get him in that first round, and I'm pretty confident that he's going to be a good corner outfielder for us for a long time. So those are some of the guys at the top of the board on the position side, and let's look at the pitchers, starting with probably my favorite in Aaron Pyle, another discovery guy, high stamina, high walks per 9, not lacking too much in any other qualities that I'm looking for. We did talk about his pitch mix, going to be looking to get him with the coaches, if you will, on that one. So Pyle's up there. Mitch Leonard could also be a first-round pick. He looks like he's going to be a very good starting pitcher. He rose up our board. So if I get cold feet on any of those position guys, I could go with Mitch Leonard. Yokoyama also rose up our board. He also looks good despite his hits per 9 being a little low. He's got 2 changeups, but he's also got a good fastball and a hard slider. Eric Cuevas could be another option. Again, not a guy that I would be necessarily thrilled to take, but looks like he'll have decent potential and could be a good piece in our system. Jeff Murphy, he's interesting. Again, low hits per 9. Pretty good pitch mix here. I'm not thrilled with Jeff Murphy, but our scouts really liked him, so he could be a good second-round option. And as you just see, there's a lot of pitchers here in the middle. Burton looks okay. Casilla, not thrilled about him. Looks okay. Jason Bridges, I have him low here. I don't think I would want to take him in the first round, but this is another potential option. More starters with McMahon, Fredrickson, who is a discovery guy, Guerrero, a discovery guy. He looks promising as a trade piece with potentially high, potentially high potential. I don't love his stats, but could be a good guy to trade. Bartolo Velasco could be a second-round option. Don't love him either. Another catcher on the board in case we get to him, Vincent Beck. Looks like he will have high potential for a reliever. I did scout quite a few relievers. This is another good second-round option. Escalona is a starter with high hits per 9. Decent pitch mix here. Pretty standard starter pitch mix. He looks okay. Boucher from New York, Discovery starter. Again, not blown away with him, but anyway, as I drone on as some of our options, I wouldn't say I had the most success scouting. Carmona looks okay, late round. But we're going to see kind of what the board gives us and just do our best to set up a pivotal first-year draft class. So let's go ahead and start the draft. The first pick, some long hair, is going to be Jay McAlpin. Starting pitcher. Let's see who goes number 2. Lonnie Sandoval. Not a guy I looked at. Didn't think I would be able to get him, so that worked out okay. And the third pick here, Wayne Erdman. He's injured, allegedly. So not exactly sure what the Mariners' plan is there. I'm just going to sim ahead here to our pick, and let's see who's here. It looks like all of our position guys were taken. Tejada, that was our catcher option. Figueroa, that was a third baseman. He looked okay. And then Tommy, he went number 4, which is fair because he looks really, really good. So where does that leave us? Well, Nolo is definitely standing out. And this seems like a no-brainer, really. So even though he's a Discovery guy and could fall, I think our choice here is going to be Dante Nolo. All right, simming to the next pick, and Pyle is still here. Pyle is our number 1 guy. Really like what he has to offer. I don't really want to risk going another round. We've got another pick coming up in the 40s where I might be able to pick up some of these other guys. Cruz is still here. Could be an option maybe for that pick, and then also going to probably start to look towards some relievers as well because we do need those guys in our system. Our relief pitching is not great. Montoya's here. Yeah, I don't really think I need to go much further down the board. I feel like it's unorthodox for me to be going 2 Discovery guys in the first 2 picks, but these are just the best guys that I could find. So, Aaron Pyle, welcome to the Rays. Okay, pick 49. I think the best bet here is Vincent Beck, relief pitcher. He looks promising. He's got guaranteed high potential. Cruz, I'm just nervous on Cruz. I'm going Beck. Okay, getting into now the later rounds. We've still got Fredrickson up on the board. He looks like a good option at starter. Guerrero, not a huge fan. Boucher, maybe. Carmona, maybe. He's got guaranteed high potential. Probably could be a good trade piece. Not throw with Oren. And then the other option could be Mario Jimenez, who looks like he could be a good closer. Eddie Losser, he's a later round guy. I really think it is between Fredrickson and Jimenez. And I'm going to go Jimenez and hope that Fredrickson drops a little further down, and he does. So with pick 118, let's just get Fredrickson out of the way. Look at him with the sport goggles. Welcome to the Rays. And as we get towards the end of the class, let's just check and make sure there's nobody here that I'm missing. I could take Peter McDermott. I don't know how I feel about that. Pennick, no, and then it starts to get pretty thin after that. So I think probably going to take Guerrero with his high potential and look for him to be a potential trade piece if he does not turn out how we might expect. And then between Boucher and Carmona seems like the best bet just with his potential. He could come in as a low overall, but again, that seems like more trade bait. Jose Carmona. And that is going to do it for the 2025 draft. Hopefully things worked out. We'll see how the draft picks look in the beginning of September. Stepping away from focusing on the draft, now that that's over with, it is time for the trade deadline, which is approaching. And there really is only one piece that makes sense to trade, that I think I can get some good value for. Contract is coming up. It's not a whole lot of other options other than starting pitcher Zach Littell. He is having pretty much a career year. If you look at his history, he was a reliever in a prior role. Obviously a starter now. He's got a 3.10 ERA, and he's going to become a free agent. I probably would not be bringing him back. And so it makes a lot of sense to trade him. And so the Cubs are in a tight race for the playoffs right now. And we weren't able to get a catcher in the draft. And this is a position that I know we're going to need. If you look at our catching, there is one prospect in here who's really a defensive first catcher in Logan Driscoll. And then both of our current catchers are going to be, Rorfit's on ARB. He's not really anything special for a catcher. He's actually DFA'd in real life, unfortunately for him. But Danny Jansen is also going to be a free agent. I don't really think I can trade him right now, just because there's not anybody able to come up behind him. So I think this is pretty straightforward. The Cubs have a catcher prospect who's 21 years old. He's got B potential. He also looks somewhat defensive first. He's not doing too well in AAA right now, but we're going to need catcher depth because I really don't see any of these guys ever coming up. So Zach Littell, you're going to the Cubs. Moises Ballesteros, welcome to the Rays. To fill in Littell's spot, we already had Boyle up. So these guys right here, this will be the starting five. Boyle will be the fifth starter. He's not doing too great, but this is kind of a throwaway year. He's still developing. So instead, I will be bringing up Andrew Wantz from AA, who's got a 1.2 ERA in 60 innings. And he's got elite hits per 9. Kind of surprised he was not up already. So I'm going to add him to the 40-man, and he is going to slot in to our bullpen. So I signed all of our draft picks, and now is the moment of truth. How did we do? Okay. I see some blue in here. So Nolo came in right at the middle of his range. He's maybe going to need 1 year in the minors, depending on our roster. He's already 71 overall. Might need 1 year of development, but he looks like he's going to be a good piece of our team. Aaron Pyle came in at A potential. I really like the walks per 9. He's 67 overall at 18. He is going to be a pitcher on our team most likely, along with Vincent Beck. He came in at 60 overall with 87 potential. Mario Jimenez came in on the lower end of his potential range. I still think he's got a chance to be a decent closer. Fredrickson, he's got going to have pretty high hits per 9, pretty high walks per 9. He has low stamina, So may look at him as a reliever if he develops well. We will see on Fredrickson. And then Guerrero. Oh, no, it is Clemente. Clemente Guerrero. He came in with A potential at 54 overall. And I don't necessarily love his spread of stats here. Low walks per 9. Not a whole lot that stands out besides his stamina. Obviously, he's going to develop a lot. May give him a year in the minors just to see what happens, but there's a good chance that he will be a trade piece. And lastly, Carmona, another starter. He is 56 overall at 21. He might be okay. Throws hard. But these last two guys most likely are going to be trade pieces for position players or bullpen guys down the road. But overall, pretty happy. I think these top three we will see in the majors, and Nelo, which we knew when we scouted him, could be coming up as soon as next year. Overall, pretty happy with the first draft. At this point in the season, we are 16 and a half games behind. I guess it turns out that the ranking at 24 wasn't so bad after all. It's in our division. It's amazing. The Orioles have a 9-game lead in the division. They might be a problem long term if they continue that level. The Yankees are always going to be there. But the Red Sox, shockingly, they are 25 games under 500 and 25 and a half games behind first place. Looking at the AL wild card, the Yankees and the Blue Jays are in there, so it looks like 3 AL East teams could be making it. Then you have the Astros, and then a close race here. The White Sox, even though they're 6 games under 500, are only 2. Wow, hold on a second. We are only 2.5 games behind a wild card spot. As of right now, I don't think that's going to hold. But man, the AL is outside of our division. AL is pretty wide open. No one on our roster is really having a great year. Diaz is actually struggling quite a bit. He's got an OPS of 603, by far his worst year in a long time. And we might be looking to trade him next year. He's 39. At least this year he's regressing. I'm sorry, he's 33. He's 33. He's regressing a little bit this year. As much as I love Yandy in real life, one of my favorite, if not my favorite Rays, he may have to go in 2026. We'll see where we're at. Brandon Lowe's having an okay year. He's got 14 home runs, 748 OPS, almost 2 WAR, which the contract that the Rays have for him for, I mean, that's a steal. Morel has 17 homers. His contact has developed a little bit, which is very good for him. A lot of concerns on the defensive side. I actually moved him to DH. He was playing in a corner outfield position. I switched Caballero over there. Caballero's actually developing quite well. He's still got a renewable contract at 28 years old. He's got a lot less stolen bases than he had previous years. He was a stolen base leader in the AL in 2024. But, I mean, yeah, just look it up and down. There's not really anybody too exciting other than Junior Caminero. So right now, Palacios is playing third base, and he's still on a renewable contract. I may look to shift him to the outfield for next year. But Caminero's developing very well. And he's gotten 225 ABs, slashing 751 for the OPS. Even on WAR, I don't really think he's bringing a whole lot on the defensive side or the base running side. But I'm hopeful that Caminero can be a good piece of this team going forward. I think that's one of the bright spots this year. Aranda, not so much. And, the other guys are just bench guys here. As far as the rotation, McClanahan is having a good year. 129 innings. The team obviously is not supporting him too well, 6-9, but 3.35 ERA. I do think that McClanahan will probably have a piece on this team for the foreseeable future. Pepio and Bradley especially, obviously they're hot right now, but they are having great years. Bradley is still renewable for another year, hoping he can continue to develop, but I mean, really strong stuff from Bradley this year, and then Boz as well. So there's a lot of options at pitcher. Even though Boyle's struggling, he is developing. I don't see him maybe as a long-term piece, but he's cheap in the meantime. So we'll probably hang on to him for next year and then have to figure out what we want to do with some of these other guys going forward. Rasmussen, a little bit disappointing. I mentioned way earlier in this video that he usually seems to sim well. He's having not a great year, but we'll see what happens with him. I think he'll bounce back. Clevenger's been a great arm in the bullpen. He's got 54 innings and a 1.6 ERA. I would expect that we'll keep him. I brought up Andrew Wantz, and he is not doing well. This, if you recall from when I traded Littell, Wantz came in, and yeah, that hasn't gone too well in 8 innings, so small sample size. I think he's got better in him, but not much else to say there. And then the back end of the bullpen with Kelly and Uceda especially are pitching very well. Uceda's regressing a little bit here. I'm not sure why. He's only 27, but he's on a renewable contract. He'll be back next year. And Pete Fairbanks, he could be a trade piece for us next year. And try to slot in a new closer. Looking at our prospects, Carson Williams is not hitting super well in Double-A. He is progressing. We know he's going to be unbelievable defensively. It's really going to come down to how well can he progress offensively in the future. Theo Gillen, I don't think I mentioned him or covered him before. He's a very promising prospect at third base, but he can play a lot of positions. So if Cam Monero ends up being our long-term guy at third base, which I think is likely, Gillen could fill in elsewhere. He's only 19. That you see there, he was the first-round pick of the Rays in 2024. Ballesteros, who we traded Littell for, is already our third best prospect. And then Xavier Isaac in AAA. He's not hitting great. We'll have to see if he can be a first baseman for us in the future. And then I would say those are our most notable guys for right now. So hopefully they can continue to develop and fill in roles that we have currently. As far as this season, I'm just going to sim all the way to the end. I may look to extend McClanahan, take the opportunity to do that. But other than that, about ready to head to 2026. The first piece that we are going to build around in this rebuild is going to be Shane McClanahan. He is 27. He's a lefty, a potential. He still has some room to grow. Very consistently a low 3 ERA guy, and I think he could have a couple even better seasons. He's got 2 years left of ARB. So I want to take him into free agency and have him throughout the majority of our rebuild. So I am offering him 6 years at $23.5 million per year. Maybe not. So I am offering McClanahan 6 years at $146 million, and he is going to be the centerpiece of our rotation for years to come. I could foresee good contracts coming for Pepio, Bradley, and or Boz. Any of these guys could be a piece of the puzzle going forward, but it's not too difficult to draft really good pitchers. So I don't want to get too locked up, and you have to remember that the Rays do not do what I just did for McClanahan very often. And so that's really a special player, and at this time, I don't think there's anybody else we want to lock up, but McClanahan will be there as we start to build into the future. simming our way through the rest of the 2025 season. As expected, the Rays finished under 500, 12 games under 500. Not a great year, but it was intentional. I wanted us to tank a little bit for a decent draft spot. As you'll see in the standings, we finished 18 games out of our division, and we also finished 3 games out of the wild card. So we weren't too far behind. Maybe could have made a splash, but it just did not, at the trade deadline, could have maybe made a splash to try to get a wild card spot. But even then, I don't see us going on to make a good playoff push. So it made sense for us to sell. We've got a lot of room for improvement. It started with our first draft class and some of the younger guys that we've got in our system that we drafted and also that were there for us. So with that being said, I'm going to start to work the way through the offseason. We already made our big move with McClanahan, and I will update you with any other important moves. Let's just go ahead and sim to the offseason and see who is going to win the World Series. It is the Dodgers taking on the Mariners, which is interesting because the Mariners actually traded Brian Wu earlier in this sim, and they still went on to make it to the World Series. So that is about it for 2025. Time to start working through the offseason. When we drafted Clemente Guerrero, I knew in the back of my head he probably would not play for our team. He does have a potential. He's only 18. He could really turn into something down the road. But we are in a good place as far as starting pitchers. We've got Aaron Pyle, who is very likely to become a starter for us. We've also got Fredrickson, as well as all the guys that are up already who could be looking to be long-term pieces. McClanahan's the only one we've really locked up in the future. We're going to trade with the Mariners for a second baseman. They are currently in compete mode as they were just in the World Series, and I don't think they are too concerned about giving up this prospect right at this moment. I think this is a fair deal. There we go. Looking to clear up a little bit of space on the 40-man and also move some chess pieces around the board. We are overwhelmed at third base. A lot of good prospects at third base. Curtis Mead is on the 40-man, and he may develop into a pretty solid prospect. He looks like he's going to hit lefties really well. Plenty of team control left. And could be somebody, but he's just stuck behind a lot of other guys in our system. He can play first base as well. And then Hunter Biggie was on our 40-man, but he was playing an A-ball last year, so don't exactly need him. The Marlins have Ronnie Henriquez, who I like his stats, especially his walks per 9. He had a decent year last year. He's got a couple years left on renewable, so in a very Rays-like move, looking to stay pretty young here and keep guys on some renewable contracts as we're not quite ready to compete. So Biggie and Mead headed to the Marlins for Ronnie Henriquez. 3 young, promising pitchers, Pepio, Bradley, and Boz, are all up for arbitration. I'm not prepared yet to give out a long-term contract to any of these guys. And at the same time, I don't think it's a good thing for us to move off of them. So it's going to cost us a little bit of money in the short term, but any one of these guys could become a trade piece or could get a big contract in the near future. So I plan to offer arbitration to all 3 of them, along with the majority of the rest of the guys on our list here. And that's going to be about it for arbitration, for arbitration, but also for our offseason, besides making a couple cheap moves in free agency. Taking a look at free agency, there's really only 2 positions that we need to fill for next year, and we want to do it cheaply. We're not planning to compete next year, and the only positions that we really need to fill some guys in to avoid arbitration, which could get expensive for a couple other guys, we do need a catcher, as well as we could get, there's a reliever that I'm looking at getting. And so I will just foreshadow a little bit. This is going to be a lefty reliever. As far as our catcher, I believe they are a righty. So let me get these needs in here just to increase the motivation. But the players we're going to be looking at, starting off with the catcher, there is a decent option here with James McCann. He's nothing special. He's 35, but we just need to fill in for a year. So McCann, who does bat righty, is going to be our number one priority. If you remember, Jansen cost us $8 million last year in a year that we weren't going to compete, so saving $6 million there. And then for our reliever, there's one guy that stood out a little bit for me. Left-handed pitcher Ryan Borucki, good hits per 9, good walks per 9, has not played a whole lot. The last time that he had a decent amount of innings, he pitched well. There's also a chance that he could pitch not too well, but he seems like a decent option, and I may go more than 1 year for him. He's only asking for 1 year, $890K. So those are the two moves that we'll be looking for. Hopefully we can sign these guys, and then we're close to being on our way to the regular season. I've offered some arbitration to our starters. I'm going to let the CPU handle some arbitration contracts for the rest of our guys. And I think we're going to be in a good spot as we look ahead to the future of the Tampa Bay Rays. The Diamondbacks have signed Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for 7 years, $143 million. That is a big splash out in Arizona. Both our targets are above 50% motivation. I'm going to go ahead and offer McCann exactly what he wants. Fill in for us for a year. And then Borucki, I'm actually going to offer him 2 years, slightly below what he's looking for. Let's bring that back down to 50%. He's 31, lefty. I think he's going to be decent for a couple years. And I think that's a decent deal for Borucki. We'll see how it goes. McCann. Not interested. Not yet, at least. Borucki is in. 2 years, $863,000. Hopefully he's all right. Let's try that again with McCann. It doesn't look like anybody else is really interested in him, so unfortunately, James, because you declined our first one, the offer is going to get a little bit worse. We're going down to a clean $2 million. James McCann signs with the Rays. Unfortunately, the CPU did not offer arbitration to Josh Lowe, which ultimately is my mistake there. But I'm not ready to give him up just yet, even though our first-round pick from last year is not too far away. At worst, he could become a trade piece, but I'm not willing to bring up our first-round pick from last year immediately to the majors. So we are going to need to bring back Josh Lowe. Kyle Tucker is headed to the Mariners. As I expected during the trade we made earlier in the offseason, the Mariners are really looking to compete, and they are putting their chips in the center of the table. A 9-year deal at $37.6 million a year for Kyle Tucker. That is not something the Rays would ever really be in on, at least in the coming years. Hoping to change that down the road in this rebuild. But Kyle Tucker, Mariner. Lowe is back. 2 years, $4 million. Wish I could have offered him arbitration, but this isn't so bad, and we're well within our budget. Welcome back, Josh Lowe. Time for the draft lottery. We are starting off in the 9th position. Let's see if we get lucky. and we stay right where we were. So we will be picking 9th next year. We picked 14th last year. I think 9th is going to open up a few more options for us.
Well, I forgot to record an outro. I was too locked in. So enjoy in the background here another clip of the Rays comeback game 162. I hope you enjoyed episode 1. I don't think it was the most riveting episode, but I can promise you that there is a lot of good stuff to come. I've already started filming the next episodes, and it's just going to get better and better. So I hope you enjoyed. Take care, and see you soon.